What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Prophecy Misfits Podcast. This is episode 344, Suggestions and Decisions. And it's going to be one of those where we're going to kind of go over some of the smaller details of things going on. This isn't, the big flashy stuff, but it's still important things that it's worth knowing, so we have a little context and understanding of the bigger stuff happening. So I got some interesting stuff, but welcome in. This is what we do on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Glad to have you guys here with me, and something weird is going on with that. Anyways, but glad to have you guys here, and this is what we do, and we just keep track of what's going on around the world. We're called to be watchmen. We're called to watch for the things happening that point to the last days, transitioning to the end times, post-rapture into the day of the Lord, and all that jazz. So we just keep track of what's going on, and we don't have all the answers, but we don't need all the answers because we know everything that has already happened for God, and He's in full control of everything. And as long as you have your faith in Jesus, then you got nothing to worry about. That's how I like to look at it. I know there's a lot of people out there that like to push the fear and all that type of stuff, but for those who have Jesus, it's not fear. It should be encouragement and excitement. Yes, but yeah, that's how we look at things around here. But yeah, so tonight, suggestions and decisions. We've got some stuff going on we're going to talk about. One of the bigger things that is actually really worth keeping track, especially for you guys, your Canadians up there. You got Bill S-206, which they are very quietly, kind of interesting. You can't find much on it. There's a little bit out there. You can't find much on it, but they're very quietly passing a national UBI program up there in Canada. So we'll talk about that, kind of get a little bit of an idea of what's happening there. We also got some updates when it comes to judge blocking National Guard deployment in Memphis, which they're already there, so this is kind of trying to block them from doing anything else. From there, we got some information on that. We also got some information regarding the penny. We talked about this. This was announced, I think it was February. The penny was going to get discontinued, or they're going to stop producing the penny, and they have officially stopped that. So we'll kind of talk about that and possible repercussions of that situation. We also got a bunch of stuff when it comes to AI and drones that we're going to be talking about. We got more information with another deal of the same companies passing more money back and forth around to each other. The White House is now looking to join an international agreement in order for the IRS to tax foreign crypto. This is the same administration that said they are going to eliminate the IRS, but they're actually expanding it. Shocker, right? We also got some updates when it comes to Oracle, Microsoft, and that whole situation there. Jeff Bezos from Amazon, he's starting his own AI company. We got Endural planes and drones. We've got Shield AI planes and drones. We got some more Palantir stuff and a whole bunch of other things regarding that, along with AI for determining if a company should hire you, and another digital necromancy app. So a lot of interesting stuff happening here. So yeah, we'll be going over all that type of stuff. But glad to have you guys in here, and I see a bunch of you chatting it up over there, YouTube and the website and Rumble and stuff. Good to see you guys. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you also. Let's go ahead and get into what we got going on with Le Housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
I think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
All right, so for housekeeping, if you guys can, there we go. If you guys can, like, share, subscribe, and help me get this out to as many people as we can. This is not about views, not about butts and seats. It's not about anything like that, numbers and all that type of stuff, but it is about trying to reach those who are seeking some type of understanding of what's going on and don't have Jesus. That's why we do this. That's the whole goal. As you guys, for the regulars here, as you guys know, we try to be a bridge between the lost as well as those who are in the truther movement that don't have the salvation of Jesus Christ. As we know, most of the prophecy channels out there are there to pretty much cater to people who already have Jesus. Our goal is to try and reach out to others who like to question the narrative of things and everything like that. So liking, sharing, and subscribing does help do that. So if you guys can do me a solid, I'd certainly appreciate it. Also follow me Rumble and Telegram. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be backup live streaming over on Rumble. So make sure you guys follow me there. Telegram, I post updates and other announcements that I can't necessarily put in video format. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow over there. But if you don't like Rumble and Telegram, I completely understand. Just make sure you guys bookmark the WretchedWatchmen.com website. That's your one-stop shop to stay up to date with everything regarding this channel and what we do and all that jazz. So you'll find the latest podcasts and live streams, announcements, and the free book is there to download and all the other stuff that you want to know. So make sure you guys go ahead and bookmark the website so you're always up to date on everything going on. If you guys like to support this channel and what I got going on, I got donation links down below. CashApp, Venmo, and GiveSendGo. This channel is not monetized. I don't make anything from ads, views, or anything like that. It runs solely off of your guys' generous donations. So if you guys like to support this channel, those links are below. Thank you guys for your support. Again, you guys are the ones that make this run. Pretty much can't do this without you. So I definitely appreciate you guys. I thank the Lord for all of you. So thank you for that. Just a couple other little things here before we get into it. Just another reminder. I'm going to kind of pound this so everybody knows. On Fridays, I post the Wretched Recaps. They're about 20 minutes long, and I cover 5 topics, news topics. Most of them are new things that I don't discuss in the podcast. So don't get confused thinking that I'm covering something that I've already covered or it's another clip video or anything like that. It's brand new stuff. So if you're not watching the Wretched Recaps, you're probably missing out on some information. And again, I don't necessarily cover it in future podcasts or anything. So make sure if you guys aren't watching those that you do. Again, it's like 5 news topics in like 20 minutes. So for those who complain about my podcast being too long, that should work perfectly for you on that. Coming up also on Friday night. As you guys know, my pastor that we do home church with is Jeff Solwold, Pastor Jeff Solwold, Calvary Chapel, Madison. He will be in a conference on Friday and Saturday. And Friday they do their prophecy update stuff, and so he won't be there. And he has asked me to fill in for him. So I will be guest speaking via the internets, the interwebs, as they call it, and I'll be leading the conversation on his channel on Friday. So those links should be in the chat for you if you guys don't know Jeff Solwold's channel. If you don't catch the link, just go to my YouTube page and scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find Calvary Chapel Madison on there as well, that you guys can just click on that over there. So he asked me to fill in for him on Friday. I'll be going over AI, modern technology, and how it applies to what's going on prophetically. So most of you guys know that I pretty much connect the dots when it comes to things like Babylon and the future technology and how it all applies to the mystery religion. I'll be going over that type of stuff as well. So I know that they do open up the live chat for the prophecy thing because they do questions and stuff like that. Just to let you guys know, and please, please, they like to keep it very mild in the chat, not a lot of chatter like we do around here. So if you are going to participate in the chat, just be respectful to that degree and everything like that. I know you guys will. You guys are always on your best behavior, but yeah, when we're guest on another channel, we need to make sure that we respect what they do over there. So just a little thing on that, but hopefully I'll see you guys over there on Friday. Good stuff. So, and thank you to Pastor Jeff for inviting me for that. Appreciate it. All right. That's all I got when it comes to lay housekeeping. Good stuff. All right. You guys ready to get into this? Like I said, it's going to be just kind of little tidbits and things here and there that are probably important for us to understand the bigger things that are happening. So, Edward McKelvey is going to wear his tie. Well, That's keeping it dapper, to say the least. You'll be a dapper man, so good stuff. Hey, I see Judah's in the chat as well. Good to see you, Judah. Hopefully you're feeling all right, man. If you guys can, please continue to pray for Judah. I believe he's having kidney problems, so we'll keep you in prayer, Judah. And so if you guys can, please keep him in your prayers. I know he's on and off struggles with that stuff, so yeah. We'll be praying for you on the interwebs. Yeah, thanks, Proton. So, good stuff. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the first thing that we got going on. And keeping it, where's it at? There it is. All right. So we're going to be talking about what's going on with Canada, because this is pretty important, not only for you Canadians up there. Canadians, eh? But also just the fact of we can see this is a pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? I've had a headache all day. It finally went away about 20 minutes ago, so I'm not thinking straight, so I apologize about that. But this is becoming a trend that we can see being applied globally. For sure. They've been doing test runs all over the world in various countries and cities and whatnot when it comes to a UBI system. And it looks like Canada is looking to poser. Yeah. Jeez, man, I got to stop looking at the chat. But it looks like this is going to be something that they're quietly trying to sneak in. So if you're in Canada, it might be worth talking to your friends and family and warning them ahead of time about what could possibly be coming down the pike. In regards to this. So this is S206, and it's being introduced by Ken Pate, one of those things. I'm sure y'all up in Canada know who that is. But it says an act to develop a national framework for a guaranteed livable basic income. So they're not calling it a UBI or universal basic income, but this is just another phrasing, another term for the same thing. So if you don't know what a UBI is, it is a universal basic income, and it's basically the allowance from the government. It doesn't matter if you're working. It doesn't matter what you're doing. The whole the whole idea of this program is to just give people an allowance of money straight from the government just for being there. And like I said, there's been many countries, many cities that have been testing these. They'll test it for anywhere from a year to 2 years at a time. We've been following this, man, since we started this channel here. And so they're trying to pass this thing, and this is the stuff that we hear all the time from the big tech heads out there, the techno bros, because they're the ones developing basically human replacements, the AI, the robotics, and stuff like that. And so their idea is, how do we manage to keep everybody going when all the jobs are taken? And so this is a slow process, but it's a manageable process for them to make sure that everybody is fully dependent upon the government in order to survive. And there's other little videos and stuff out there. There's a video that was made a few years back or whatever. It's a little animated video talking about the guy who is living in his apartment, and he receives his UBI, and he's looking at his computer, and he's getting taxed for all his things, plus rent and food and all that stuff's taken out, and he has no credits left, so it's just enough money in order to survive, and that's it, and so on and so forth. And so Canada's looking to do this, and if we look at it, it's at the Senate. I'll be honest, I'm not going to go into the details of how the Canadian government works because I don't necessarily really know much about it. So I'm not gonna attempt to, but it's at the Senate. They completed their first reading and they completed their second reading. And I believe they're at the point where they're now studying it in order to introduce it for consideration in the committee. So they've done 2 readings. They're at the study portion of it, and then there's a chance that it'll go into consideration with that. So if we take a look over, this is the Kim Pate, however you want to pronounce it. This is her website blog thing over there. And this is where she's talking about it. It says, we introduced Bill S-206 in the Senate of Canada as calls across the country from various municipalities, indigenous governing bodies, party platforms in both federal and provincial jurisdictions, and numerous non-government organizations show the multi-jurisdictional support and collective need for guaranteed livable basic income across Canada. We see a guaranteed livable basic income as one component of a robust, responsive, and comprehensive economic health and social wellness system, inclusive of universally accessible housing, childcare, education, pharma, dental, and mental health strategies. By a guaranteed livable basic income, we mean a cash transfer sufficient to allow people to afford adequate food, housing, clothing, transportation, and other necessities. And so this is what I was talking about, where they're just going to dump money into somebody's account. You better believe that it will still be taxed. So the government will give you money, which then they'll take a portion of it back for tax reasons. Figure that one out, right? But it has to do with using that money for food, which will be taxed for, housing, which you have rent, mortgage, or tax with that, clothing, transportation, and necessities. So basically, dependence upon the government, but just enough to just barely survive, and that's that. This is literally part of that you will own nothing and be happy. I don't even, agenda, we'll just call it an agenda, that was introduced from the WEF back in, I think that was 2014, they introduced that idea. And so this is another form of that, because you will own absolutely nothing. And that includes even having a job or having even the income that you receive, you won't even own it. And the fact is this is something where they're not just going to be handing you a bundle of cash either. You better believe that this is going to be digital. So having it digital is also their way of being able to control every aspect of your life. This is way beyond, again, you know, whenever we hear about UBI stuff, we usually hear from the same old crowd of, well, this is communism or this is socialism and stuff like that. And I always like to take it from the perspective of, let's just call this absolutely what it is. This is technocratic neo-feudalism. This is exactly what we've been watching and seeing what's happening. It has to do with the kings and the peasants, and the kings ruling the peasants with technology. And this is exactly aligning with that, especially since you have the techno bros, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, you know, the usual faces that have continued to push the idea of we will need a UBI because of AI and robotics and technology. So, and yeah, we can see here, first reading, second reading, and then going, the next process is the committee. So, yeah, let's just keep reading on this. It says the bills call on the federal government to develop a plan for implementing a guaranteed livable basic income at a national level and accessible to anyone in Canada who is over the age of 17 years and is in need. Existing supports such as social, health, education, training opportunities could continue, but like labor market participation would not be required in order to qualify. So, yeah, if you're in Canada, probably worth paying attention. Probably worth paying attention to what's happening with this. I'm not in Canada. I do my best to try and keep an eye on everything that's going on in other countries and stuff like that, but I can only do so much. So if you are in Canada and you do see, what is going on here? Hold on one second. Jeez. Yeah, sorry. But if you are in Canada and you do see updates of what's going on with this, or you have any extra information that I might not be able to find, or I just don't know where to look. Like I said, I'm not an expert on Canadian governments and stuff like that. But if you're in Canada, please keep an eye on this. And if you see any developments or anything like that, please let me know, so I can continue to keep an eye on what's going on and report further. So I know I have a few Canadians in here. I do know we have a few Canadians. So please keep an eye on that. Please, so we can make sure everybody's aware. But yeah, UBI, again, is not going to be something that's just exclusive to Canada as well. They've been testing this stuff. Look at 2020 and the situation that happened with the COOF. in all the, the stimulus checks that they did. I call it helicopter money that they passed around. It wasn't just the United States. It wasn't just Canada. It was countries all over the world that were testing that system. And that has to do with another aspect of why they were doing 2020. Again, 2020, they were able to test so many things. They were able to gather so much information and use that to further things. A lot of people, you'll still see reports out there. You don't necessarily see it very often, but you'll still see reports out there that say, well, 2020 failed. That was it. That was their attempt in order to implement the whole system and take over. And I'm sitting there going, there's no way. They weren't ready back then. They weren't even close to being ready back then. That was about gathering information, testing a whole bunch of different programs and policies and agendas and everything, and training their prediction models in order to then take that information and apply it to this next step that we're currently in right now. So that wasn't a failure. They were just gathering their information and testing their programs in order to move forward with things. So don't let those people that said it was a failure, we're winning the fight. That was the big thing we heard from like the Reawaken tour and stuff like that we're winning the fight. We stopped their 2020 takeover. A straight lie, straight propaganda. Don't fall for it. All right, let's move things back down to the United States. And we're going to take a look at an update regarding the whole National Guard deployment in the United States. This is Tennessee, there we go. State judge blocks National Guard deployment to Memphis. It says a Tennessee state court judge temporarily blocked on Monday Republican Governor Bill Lee's deployment of National Guard troops to the city of Memphis, ruling that the use of troops was likely not legal under the state's militia law. Before we go any further, worth noting, and I played this video when Bill Lee was giving an interview. This was roughly a month ago, somewhere in there, give or take. And he was giving a forum interview at the time. And he stated that this National Guard deployment, this task force deployment, this upping the ante with both military and mercenary deployment on the streets of Memphis, as well as other cities within Tennessee, was just the beginning. And he said it was open-ended. They may not stop this, and they may continue to have it indefinitely. And he said it out loud. He said the quiet part out loud, the thing that we've been talking about the whole time, where you allow them this ability to do this and they're never going to take it back. Well, he basically said it out loud that it's going to continue indefinitely. And so to see a judge come in and block this, I don't know why they didn't do it earlier, but I don't know. Come in and block this is going to be interesting, and it sets up another legal battle like Portland and Chicago and the whole Trump administration versus the Supreme Court and so on. So the judge ruled that crime rates in Memphis were not a grave emergency or a disaster that would authorize Lee to send troops in his role as commander-in-chief of the state's military forces. Her order blocks the governor from continuing the activation and deployment of Tennessee National Guard personnel pending further court proceedings, but it will not take effect for 5 days to give Lee time to appeal. So I'm not sure if this is a thing where all National Guard already deployed has to stand down, or this is just a case of you can't continue to activate and deploy new ones. So I'm not exactly sure on that. So state lawmakers in Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris sued the governor to block the deployment, saying that the use of troops for law enforcement violates the Tennessee Constitution and state laws. Well, if only the governor declared it, but there's no approval by the mayor, then that would technically violate their state law. So it is true if that is the case. So yeah, we have another legal battle that's obviously going to be going down in Tennessee in regards to this whole National Guard deployment. We have talked about how they are deploying ICE agents and National Guard into Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte's in North Carolina, right? I failed geography, so Don't ask me that. I believe Charlotte's in North Carolina. But they deployed over there as well. That's already started chaos. Greg Bovino is over there. Minnie Grant, thank you. Greg Bovino's already over there causing problems. He's the grand authoritarian. That he's basically the ones that's sending Black Hawk helicopters around cities and repelling people out of the helicopters and just completely invading entire apartment complexes and pulling people out in their underwear, putting them on the street in handcuffs, children in handcuffs and stuff. That's the same guy who got an upgrade from Trump in order to start taking control of ICE agents and so on and so forth. So they're upping the aggression that's happening. So we'll see where else this is going to happen. I don't see it slowing down. Obviously, they're not being as deployed as quickly as they were at the beginning, but they're still being deployed nonetheless. We know Louisiana is one of those things where the governor and the mayor invited them down there. We got Charlotte as well. I'm curious to see what happens regarding this New York situation. Mamdani has not taken his position yet in office. There's still that transition that needs to happen. I don't see anything happening until that. Again, I still believe he's a puppet stooge for some future thing that they do, whether it's economic, whether it's a false flag, whether it's a deployment or anything like that. So we could see something regarding that. But we'll see what else happens with this. Still worth keeping an eye on. I believe that they still have an agenda regarding getting boots on the ground. Also worth noting, I don't have like information to pull up on it, but it just popped into my head, that with the recent moves regarding task force policies from the Pentagon and the Department of Defense, they have deemed Antifa, four groups of Antifa as foreign terrorist organizations. We're not even going to get into the conversations regarding all that stuff because it's pointless. What matters regarding that is many policies that have been designed and implemented starting since the Biden administration going into the Trump administration now are all about targeting foreign terrorist organizations. And so if you have Antifa groups that are now being, which I believe they were state created. I believe that the government, that's a created group in order to be here to cause chaos. I believe that when they create that, designate them as foreign terrorist organizations, it allows for a more widespread reach of U.S. military deployment on United States soil. So keep that in mind going forward. I'm still gathering information on it because there's a lot of legal stuff, which is just so boring. But when I have more information regarding it, I'll let you guys know about it. But keep that in mind because now that they're foreign, it's not just a terrorist organization. Because if it was just a terrorist organization, they wouldn't have as much ability to deploy in the United States. But because it's foreign terrorist organization, that gives them even greater reach to do more unconstitutional illegal things. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll keep doing some research on it, and I'll let you guys know what happens from there. All right. Let's see here. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. Oh, man. It just... If you guys think at all that we are how do I put this? This world is just stupid, to say the least. And obviously they do stuff that just is not serious. And they just love to toy with us. And that includes something like this. I don't know if you guys saw this. Nicki Minaj to speak at a UN conference about the violence against Christians in Nigeria. And that indeed happened today. Nicki Minaj spoke on behalf of the United States at a UN conference regarding the violence against Christians in Nigeria. It's just not serious. Her stuff is so bad, I can't even repeat it on this podcast. I can't even read the lyrics of her songs on this podcast. She's a pop. I wouldn't even call her a singer because she can't sing, but anyways. But yeah. So it says rapper Nicki Minaj and U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz, said on social media that they will deliver remarks together this week about violence against Christians in Nigeria, a cause Minaj recently embraced, though some experts dismiss claims Christians are disproportionately targeted by extremist groups. Waltz confirmed that he will speak with Minaj on a post on Sunday night on Twitter, stating that he looks forward to standing with her as we discuss the steps the president and the administration are taking to combat Christian persecution in Nigeria. And again, it was that happened today. You can find videos of her attempting to speak proper English at a UN conference if you so choose to. Just be warned that your brain cells will probably be offing themselves trying to listen to her, like a few of mine did. That's probably where my headache came from. Waltz made his post in response to a Time reporter who said Minaj and Waltz will speak alongside Trump advisor Alex Bruschwitz on Tuesday, though other details about the event remain unclear. Minaj said Sunday night that she is grateful to be entrusted with an opportunity of this magnitude, adding that her and her fans never stand down in the face of injustice. The event comes after Minaj has made multiple posts on social media calling attention to violence against Christians in Nigeria, ostensibly referring to attacks by militant groups, and experts say large numbers of both Christians and Muslim Nigerians. It just, none of this matches, man. None of this makes any sense. I don't want to spend too much time on this. This was just one of those things that I kind of wanted to throw in there just to show how ridiculous everything is. Sometimes we just got to laugh at the stupidity, to be honest. But I just wanted to show, if you still think that the politics and all this stuff is real and everything, I cannot help you. Because stuff like this, stunts like this, is just absolutely ridiculous. I know I've had a few people email me and whatnot, asking me about the whole thing that's going on regarding the Epstein stuff with the files and the votes and everything like that. And all I can tell you is that is one giant distraction. I can't even begin to tell you the theater that is being on display with, Trump fighting with this politician and attacking that politician and removing an endorsement for this. And they're voting for this. They're not voting for that. They got an investigation. They're not doing an investigation. They're flip-flopping it. It's just one giant theatrical show there to distract you. Don't get caught up in it. I seriously, it's one of those things where people believe that if they release the Epstein files, that everything is going to be out in the clear and the open and stuff like that. And all I can tell you is, if there actually is Epstein files, and the fact that the government has held them for this long, you're going to tell me that we can believe whatever they say? No. There's every aspect of that is completely pointless. So if you're, on edge and you're waiting for information about that and stuff like that, I'm telling you, it's just not worth it. Pay attention to the other stuff that's going on around it that is being used to distract you from. Just keep that in mind. So, yeah, as somebody who has spent a ridiculous amount of hours over the past 10 years of looking at Epstein stuff, I can tell you, whatever they have is not legit. I'll tell you that much. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to actual stuff that's happening. So we have this. It says United States Mint hosts historic ceremonial strike for final production of the circulating 1-cent coin. The United States Mint hosted a ceremonial strike event today in its Philadelphia facility, where United States Treasurer Brandon Beach struck the final circulating 1-cent coin, or the penny. The event marks the official end of the penny's 232-year production run as a circulating coin. While circulation production has ceased, the penny remains legal tender. There are an estimated 300 billion pennies in circulation. I'd probably say about 200 billion of those are in the gutters or on the streets now. I mean, you can't go 10 feet without stepping on a penny. Far exceeding the amount needed for commerce, retailers and other businesses can continue to price goods and services in 1 cent increments. So we talked about this. I think they announced it in February. So we talked about it then. And the first thought when you're looking at this is one step to eliminating physical currency. And whatever your beliefs on the penny to begin with, I think the penny it's honestly a stupid thing anyways. I don't know why we just don't go by 5s or 10s when it comes to that, but that's just a discussion that really doesn't matter. The fact is, though, the reality of this situation is the elimination of a penny, of a physical currency thing, is, especially around the times that we're starting to move into digital currency, is obviously a sign that we're moving in that direction rather quickly. And so the elimination of the penny is something that in this day and age, in the reality that we live, is a sign of moving in the direction of digital. Anyway. Oh my gosh, I really got to stop looking at the chat. So we have this on here. It says the last penny was just pressed by the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. Could the nickel and dime be next? That was the question that I also brought up when we talked about this in February. Because if they're eliminating the penny, they're going to start moving their way to the next thing and to the next thing, because they can't just stop at the penny. They're going to start eliminating things as well. The penny costs them more than it does to actually produce it. So they're using that as the excuse to get rid of the penny. The nickel also costs more to produce it than what it's worth. And so they'll probably use that to take out the nickel on the next one. And then from there, we got rid of the penny and the nickel. We might as well just get rid of all change. And so they'll get rid of all change. And then we'll get to the point of, we got digital currency now, so we're just going to get rid of cash. Now, other countries are already starting to do that. There's some sections of Australia that's doing that. There's other countries that are introducing the elimination of cash or turning in cash to transfer it over to digital, and they're doing all that type of stuff all around the world. So this isn't a case of every country is going to follow suit to what the United States is doing, but here in the United States, this is what they're doing. Yeah, let's see here. Down here, he brings it up. It says, are nickels and dimes next? It says nickels maybe, dimes maybe not. According to the U.S. Mint, the nickel cost nearly 14 cents to make, nearly triple its market value. For nearly 2 decades, both the penny and the nickel have cost more to produce than they are worth for the U.S. Mint figures. Dimes, though, cost roughly 6 cents to produce. Quarters cost about 15 cents to make, so they're probably safe for now. But again, even at that point, they're going to look at it and go, 6 cents to produce a dime when we're starting to transition to digital. We don't need it. Quarters, same thing. We're transitioning, so on and so forth. We can just go ahead and get rid of those altogether. So keep that in mind. If we see another announcement in maybe a month or 2 or 3 or however long, that they're going to maybe introduce something to eliminate the nickel. So, or they may just skip it all and just go, we're just going to eliminate all cents and just get rid of that stuff as well. So, sticking with finance, but moving into the digital side of this. I wish I'm able to bring stuff up on screen. Jalapeno. Anybody with pets named Penny will have to rename them Nickel. Man, that's really going to be bad for those who name their kids Penny. Man, if your name is Penny, you're going to have to change your name. Even if you've gone forever with the name Penny, they're eliminating you. What are you going to do? You got to keep that in mind. Nero, Andrew, all sense or sense. They already eliminated that type of sense. We don't have sense anymore. Now they're working on getting rid of the physical sense. Sense went out the window a long time ago. Yeah, Patrick, AI do text, yep. So Intuit signs $100 million deal with OpenAI to bring its apps to ChatGPT. Intuit has signed a multi-year contract worth more than $100 million with OpenAI, enabling its tax and financial apps to operate within ChatGPT and expanding the company's use of the OpenAI's models across products. Intuit says its tools such as TurboTax, Credit Karma, QuickBooks, and MailChimp will be accessible through ChatGPT, allowing users to ask questions and complete tasks such as estimating tax refunds, reviewing credit options, or managing business finances. So we just covered something regarding Intuit about a week or two ago, because we learned that the direct file system that was going to be the free system that you can just go to the IRS and use that, again, for free to do your tax stuff or to participate in the U.S. government's thievery and robbery. But the fact is the Trump administration annihilated the direct file program. Then we learned that the reason why they eliminated the direct file program is because Intuit, the people who do TurboTax and Credit Karma and so on and so forth, that they donated a boatload of money to the Trump administration to grease his palms to say, get rid of this because we lose money by doing so. And so what does the Trump administration do? What does Trump do? Which he's done almost every single time. Someone gives him enough money, he throws them a bone. So he eliminated the direct file program, eliminating the free program. So people have to go to places like Intuit to get their taxes done. And now Intuit is going to go ahead and start utilizing AI for their tax services. It says with users' permission, Intuit's apps will be able to access their financial data. Yes, because that's always fun. To generate responses and complete tasks like sending market messages or issuing voice reminders. Customers will also be able to use the tools within ChatGPT to review credit cards, personal loans, and mortgages. The agreement reflects a broader trend of technology and financial firms adopting large language models in a consumer and business software. And it says OpenAI in October introduced a way to let developers build apps accessible through ChatGPT. Early participants in the program include Booking.com, Expedia, Spotify, and several other consumer and productivity platforms. But Intuit's integration differs from existing GPT apps as it will be used for tasks that can directly influence financial decisions. Such users have raised concerns about the reliability of AI systems, which can produce incorrect or misleading outputs. We've talked about this. This was like a year or two ago. It was a long time ago, actually. We talked about how many of Wall Street companies, banks, hedge funds, and those groups that do a lot of stock market or Forex trading are utilizing AI programs that analyze the charts, analyze the markets, analyze the trends, and they're able to come up with predictions of what might happen. And then they send that to the trader people, and then they can go ahead and make decisions from there. And it proved to have a pretty stinking high accuracy, mainly because the stock market is completely rigged accordingly. But either way, the fact of utilizing AI in financial transactions has been around when it comes to at least the banking side of things and the stock market side of things. Now we're getting down to the point of people utilizing it for financial decisions, to calculate mortgage rates and to do your taxes and all these types of things. It says Intuit employs multiple validation methods and utilizes large domain-specific data sets to minimize the risks of error or hallucinated response. Bruce Chan, a spokesperson for Intuit, told TechCrunch. Minimize the risks or errors of hallucinated response. That's the big deal from a personal level. If you're one of those people that utilizes AI chatbots and stuff like that, which I still just don't. I'm man, I am starting to see Christian podcasters that are now utilizing on-screen chatbots for their research. I can't believe how many videos I have seen of these Christian channels and so on and so forth that claim that they're out there doing the research and giving the information about what's going on with all these things. And they literally pull ChatGPT up on screen and say, give me information on this. And they just sit there and read an AI generated thing, slop heap on screen. And that's their way of giving you information. It is the most laziest, dumbest way to not only present information, but for people who actually believe what the AI system is putting out there. And we've gotten to the point now where it was like people tried to hide the use of AI. Then we got to the point of there's people traveling around telling pastors and churches that you need to start introducing AI into your churches. You need to force your staff to use it. Now we're at the point where it's all over on podcasts and videos and all these live streams that they're doing where they're not even hiding it anymore. All their attempt of being intelligent is pulling up a chat bot and telling it to spew out information about a subject. This is where we're at now. This is the world we live now, where it's that acceptable and people just believe it. And I can't stress enough, I can't tell you enough, that if your idea of doing research on a subject is either going to Wikipedia or typing something into a chat bot, you are not doing research. You know nothing. And I mean that with the firmest word, because that's not research at all. But this is where we're at now. And people are relying so much on AI that they can't think for themselves and they're too lazy to look things up. But that's exactly what they want, because it then creates another dependence-like system for humans on technology, on government, like we were talking about with the UBI system, and on, I believe, to be a demonically possessed system. But that's my perspective. Says Chan said Intuit continues to stand behind the accuracy guarantees offered through its products, including TurboTax. But this is interesting. It says, but did not clarify when asked if the company or the customer would be on the hook for errors that result from AI-generated recommendations or insight. So how it usually works is if you go to a service like TurboTax or H&R Block, depending if you go with the digital or an actual human, if you go there and a mistake is made in the process of determination, if it's a mistake on the TurboTax program side, or it's a mistake by the agent that's doing the taxes at a place, then you, the customer, would not be on the hook for that error. And so that you wouldn't get punished in that way. Now, if it's something that you screw up on, then that's a whole different conversation. But in this case, if AI is doing the decision making and the processing and all that type of stuff for you, they're not even clarifying if that would be on them or on you at that point. Because when they asked about, well, if there's a mistake, is it the AI that's on the hook for the mistake or is it the customer? And they refused to answer the question. So if you're somebody that's still okay with doing AI, keep that in mind if you're going to go to these places and have an AI do your taxes. You may be, in fact, more liable by doing that. It goes on to say down here, says the company already uses AI models from OpenAI alongside other commercial and open source large language models. So the company has already been using AI in some type of varying capacity in their company. This is just an extension of now becoming an intermediary between the company and the human with the AI system. So there's a whole lot of movement with something like this. Again, you go for the whole chain reaction of this. You go to during the inauguration, Intuit donated a bunch of money to the Trump administration, and then fast track a few months later, the Trump administration eliminates the direct file program, which was the free program offered by the IRS to participate in robbery of your finances. And then immediately following that, Intuit announces a mega deal with OpenAI to start introducing AI ChatGPT into their tax programs and other financial programs as well. It's quite a chain reaction. And if you're willing to see what's going on, you can see clearly the connectors that connect all that stuff together. Now, sticking with finances, we got this. Trump White House considers framework to let IRS tax foreign American crypto holdings. That's right. The Trump administration is telling the IRS to start taxing offshore crypto holdings. This is the same administration. This is the same dude that said that he was going to eliminate the IRS. He's not eliminating the IRS. He's adding to it. This is the same guy. Remember during his first term, he said he's going to drain the swamp, but he actually added to the swamp. Imagine that. He's doing the opposite of what he said he was going to do. Who would have thought, right? It says the Trump administration has moved a step closer to joining an international agreement that would allow the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, to access information and tax Americans' cryptocurrency holdings in foreign accounts. Proposed rules from the Treasury Department regarding U.S. participation in the Crypto Asset Reporting Framework, or CARF, were sent to the White House on Friday, November 14th, for review by the president's advisors, according to the government records. CARF is a global tax transparency initiative designed to combat offshore crypto tax evasion through automatic information sharing between member nations. See, do you guys remember when this whole Bitcoin crypto thing came out? We still hear them today, but not as loud as we did back then. That this was the ability for people to have full control and own every aspect of their finances. The government has no say or control of anything. This is the chance to take back your financial freedom. And we're sitting here and looking at this going, it's a digital currency that you can't physically hold, that is run on systems that are owned by corporations that work with the governments. And you're going to tell me that that's how you're going to be able to have financial freedom? Yikes. Yeah, the whole crypto Bitcoin thing was clearly a scheme. And anybody who was pushing it as some type of financial freedom either was paid to do so or just isn't that smart. But it says CARF was created by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or the OECD, in 2022, with over 53 jurisdictions as signatories to the agreement. All G7, all G7 members except the United States have already signed on, which they're looking to do so right now, it appears, alongside major cryptocurrency hubs such as the United Arab Emirates, Singapore, and the Bahamas. Should the U.S. join CARF, foreign exchanges and custodial platforms would be required to report information about U.S. customers' crypto holdings to the IRS, functioning similarly to the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, or FATCA, that governs traditional financial accounts. Global implementation is scheduled to begin in 2027. Implementing CARP would discourage U.S. taxpayers from moving their digital assets to offshore digital asset exchanges, the administration stated in its crypto policy report. In June of 2024, the IRS finalized regulations requiring U.S.-based crypto brokers to report customer transactions through Form 1099-DA starting in 2026, and the latest development may involve it extending this regulation to CARF. So in June of 2024, they signed it, so if you hold U.S.-based cryptos, all of that's going to get reported. So if you're holding crypto, you're going to have to start paying taxes on it. And then if this CARF thing would be if you hold crypto in a foreign exchange program in a different country, then it'll still get reported that way too. So there's no more offshoring your money. If you have crypto, it's all going to be reported. Just for Americans holding crypto on foreign exchanges, joining CARF could effectively eliminate their ability to keep such holdings beyond the reach of U.S. tax authorities. I'll tell you what, if you own it, the government is going to get their share of it. That's just how it works. So again, the people who thought that Trump was going to eliminate the IRS, if he managed to do that, I can guarantee that something much more devious would have been implemented which he still could very well do that, but it seems as of right now, he's just expanding it further when it comes to crypto. And Trump has come out and said that the only thing that he cares about is the United States being number one in crypto, probably because he can get his through it. So, all right. Guys, everybody's all right in the chat? Everybody good? Have I lost anybody? I know we're talking about some stuff that maybe a lot of people don't find that interesting, but it's still quite important to the big picture of things. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to this here, sticking with technology. And, yeah. Blinded by science, got hit with technology, right? Every time I hear technology, that song pops into my head. It's a terrible song. Anyways, it says Oracle hit hard in Wall Street's tech sell-off over its huge AI bet. Company falls more than the rivals over its borrowing and reliance on open AI contracts. So we've been we talked about it and then we kind of mentioned it here and there regarding this possible AI bubble that we're witnessing. Because we're seeing the same 7 technology companies that are built around AI and data centers, where they just continue to sign bigger and bigger contracts with each other, basically just taking money and just passing it around to each other. There's not really any inflow that we can see from the outside. We're not seeing any buildup of profit. Actually, most of the companies are they're losing money on this stuff because it's not at full capacity yet. And so where's the money coming from? How are they able to just pass it around and still continue to build up more and more and more of these deals? This is one giant thing. I don't even know what you would want to call it. I know people are calling it a bubble, but it could be, it could not. I don't know, because there's a lot of missing dots on this. But this is one giant thing that's just not making any sense. So it says the U.S. software group founded by Larry Ellison has made a dramatic entrance to the AI race, committing to spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the next few years on chips and data centers, largely as part of deals to supply computing capacity to OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT. I'm seeing reports everywhere. I mean, we've all seen the reports, not just here in the United States, but all over the world, that they're building massive data centers everywhere. I know some of you guys have seen that they're building data centers like right around the corner from us or from where you live. But we're seeing reports that data centers just going up everywhere, all over the place, data centers. I'm seeing many reports coming out that all those data centers that they're throwing up are just shells of buildings. That because there's not enough power supply, there's not enough chips, there's not enough people looking to buy the compute power of the data centers that of the computers that would be in those data centers, that these buildings are sitting empty. It's like they're building these things without having all their ducks in a row, and they're just putting them up, but they're not actually turning on. Now, some of them are turning on, some of them are running, they're getting filled with the computers and so on and so forth. But there's a ton of them that are just giant warehouses, pretty much. They just finished one in Arizona, where I saw a guy who lives in Arizona. I can't remember. It's some random town. I can't remember. But he went and checked it out. And sure enough, it's sitting empty. But it's done. It's completed. And they said it might not get filled until they might not actually start putting chips in there, computers in there until 2027. So this AI data center thing, whether you're looking at the companies or you're looking at the physical locations themselves, there's some very interesting things happening. The other aspect of this is the H-1B situation, which has to do with giving visas to foreign people to come in and work in the country. Trump's in full support of the H-1B situation, and he came out and said that we need that in order to bring in people, foreign people from other countries, to train stupid Americans to work the data centers. So basically, the foreign people, the H-1Bs, are coming in to run the data centers, which they want every aspect of your life to be run by the data centers. So figure that out. You're going to have private corporations that are going to house all of your data, and that data is going to be curated by foreign people, not even Americans. Does that make sense to everybody? I hope that makes sense. Right. So it says the speed and scale of its moves have unsettled some investors at a time, getting back to Oracle, when markets are keenly focused on the spending of so-called hyperscalers, big tech companies building vast data centers. Oracle shares are down 25% in the past month, nearly twice the fall of the next worst performing hyperscaler, Meta. The slide has reversed more than $250 billion in gains in its market value when the Texas-based group disclosed its deals with OpenAI in September. So that's another thing that I want to let you guys know tomorrow. One of the biggest groups, chip makers that's involved in all this, NVIDIA. I'm sure we've all heard of NVIDIA, whether we know what they do or not. I'm sure you've heard the name. They're the ones that are at like the center of all the data centers and all the AI companies, OpenAI, Meta, Oracle, and Anthropic, and all of them. They're supposed to have a numbers release tomorrow that could either skyrocket AI stocks, or it could cause a massive shockwave and just start plummeting stocks if they release the numbers. They're supposed to tomorrow. So if you're one of those people that likes to keep an eye on what's going on with all that stuff, tomorrow is a day to watch, because it could be a big indicator of what's going to happen with this AI bubble that we keep hearing about. So keep that in mind. We jump down here. It says Barclays analysts this week downgraded their ratings of Oracle's debt from market neutral to underweight, warning that its large expenses on AI infrastructure has outpaced its free cash flow. Credit ratings agency Moody's has also flagged up significant risks due to Oracle relying on a small number of AI companies. S&P Global warned that a third of Oracle's revenues will be tied to a single customer by 2028, referring to its reliance on OpenAI. OpenAI faces questions about how it plans to meet its commitments to spend $1.4 trillion on AI infrastructure over the next 8 years. It has struck deals with several big tech groups, including Oracle's rivals. Oracle has signed at least 5 long-term lease agreements for the U.S. data centers that will ultimately be used by OpenAI, resulting in $100 billion of off-balance sheet lease commitments. The sites that are varying levels of construction, with some not expected to break ground until next year. So I wanted to bring this up because this AI bubble is worth paying attention to for not only the technology of AI itself and how that will progress going forward, but also the economic side of things as well. Again, these companies have been working with money that is coming from somewhere because they're able to pass it around from each other, and they continue to expand and move forward. So I still hold to the belief, because I know a lot of people are saying, depending on who you talk to and where you get your news and information from, a lot of people are saying that if this AI bubble pops, it'll be the end of AI. I don't think so. If the AI bubble does pop, which I don't think that would happen while we're still here, because like 30-something% of the United States economy is propped up on these 7 AI companies. But if it does pop, I think that would be a restriction of AI when it comes to the consumer side for those who are using AI to build songs and videos and stuff like us. I think that might get reeled back, but I think AI would still continue to go strong on the back end that they're using in order to move things forward for this globalist system that's going on. Now, that's my perspective. That's just my perspective. So we'll just, if you disagree, you disagree. Not worth arguing, because none of us know what's going on. I'm just going off of the research that I've done, and that's the best conclusion that I can think of. So I'm just rolling with that. Hey, Mark Alexander. It's fascinating that you're complaining about me complaining. Figure that one out. So if you're tired of complaining, then you're doing exactly what you're complaining about. Figure that one out, man. If you don't like what I talk about, go somewhere else. This isn't about complaining. This is about informing people of information. So there you go. All right. Yeah, I got to get my calling out the trolls in. It's always fun to play with the trolls. It's just funny, though. I always love it when people complain about somebody complaining, even though I'm not actually complaining. So the only one complaining would be yourself. So you have a problem with yourself, not me. Figure that one out. All right. Keep going. Jellyfish, goodbye for so long. Farewell. See na beta do. I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyways. Wow, I got all the songs going through my head. Let's keep going, shall we, before we get too off the rails. And that's my final ruling. Microsoft partners with Anthropic and NVIDIA in cloud infrastructure deals. So we got another deal of them just passing money around. Microsoft said Tuesday, and it's partnering with artificial intelligence company Anthropic and chipmaker NVIDIA as part of an AI infrastructure deal that moves the software giant further away from its longtime alliance with OpenAI. Anthropic, maker of the chatbot Claude, you can't say Claude without saying it with like a German accent, the Claude. Anthropic, maker of chatbot Claude, as competes with OpenAI's ChatGPT, said it committed to buying $30 billion with a billion in computing capacity from Microsoft Azure cloud computing platform. As part of the partnership, NVIDIA will also invest up to $10 billion in Anthropic, and Microsoft will invest up to $5 billion in the San Francisco-based startup. So this is a perfect example of what we're talking about, of people just passing money and deals around to each other. So you got a situation here where it says Anthropic is going to spend $30 billion on Microsoft, and then NVIDIA is going to take $10 billion and give it to Anthropic. And then Microsoft is going to take $5 billion and give it to Anthropic. So they're literally just passing money back and forth to each other. There's no outside money coming in, but yet they're still able to just throw money back and forth at each other. That's the perfect example of what we've been seeing for the past couple of years with these companies. They just continue to just pass money back and forth. As Microsoft was, until earlier this year, the exclusive cloud provider for OpenAI and made the technology behind ChatGPT the foundation for its own AI assistant, Copilot. But the two companies moved further apart, and their business agreements were amended as OpenAI increasingly sought to secure its own cloud capacity through big deals with Oracle, SoftBank, and other data center developers and chip makers. The same companies. It says Anthropic, founded by ex-OpenAI leaders in 2021, said cloud will now be the only frontier model available to customers of the three biggest cloud computing providers: Amazon, which remains Anthropic's primary cloud provider, and Google and Microsoft. Neither OpenAI nor Anthropic has yet to report turning a profit. So where's the money coming from? Amplifying concerns about an AI bubble if their products don't meet investors' high expectations and justify the expenditures. So this right here is just a perfect example of this AI bubble, just the passing the money around, and it's just like, how is this happening? Obviously, there's a way that it's happening. We just can't see it. We just don't know what's going on. You can take guesses, you can take speculation. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't have an answer for you. But clearly there's some way that this is working. People from behind the scenes. Also worth noting that Anthropic, the co-founder of Anthropic, is a Peter Thiel fellow from the Peter Thiel Fellowship, and Anthropic runs their systems on Palantir's AI prediction system as well. So worth noting on that. I want to show this again because I've shown this before, but this is a good example of how it just goes to show all the money being passed around to each other. Microsoft, NVIDIA, Intel, Oracle, XAI, AMD, OpenAI, and it's just money, just back and forth. Deals back and forth, and computing power back and forth. And that's why they call it a bubble. That's why they call it a bubble. Because if everything pops on that, then all these companies go down, the economy goes down, and so on and so forth. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Again, I don't think any of us know what's coming next on this. All right. Did the guy who complained go away? Oh, that's sad. All right. Sorry. Keep going. I like having fun with trolls. It's just fun. So we have this. This is worth paying attention to as well. This is Jeff Bezos creates AI startup where he will be co-chief executive. Called Project Prometheus, the company is focusing on artificial intelligence for the engineering and manufacturing of computers, automobiles, and spacecraft. The company called Project Prometheus is coming out of the gates with $6.2 billion in funding, partly from Mr. Bezos, making it one of the most well-financed early-stage startups in the world. This is the first time Mr. Bezos has taken a formal operational role in a company since he stepped down as chief executive of Amazon in July 2021. Though he is deeply involved in Blue Origin, a competitor to Elon Musk's SpaceX, his official title at space company is founder. Project Prometheus is entering an increasingly crowded AI market, with smaller companies trying to carve out niches in a race with industry giants like Google, Meta, Microsoft, and pioneering companies like OpenAI and Anthropic. Again, same companies. I hope you guys are getting a theme here. It is all the same companies. These companies that we continue to see listed out, that we talk about over and over and over again, these are the ones that are actually in control of what is happening out there. Again, we've talked about this quite often, and if you're new here, you may not know what that is, but that has to do with the fact of it used to be that the corporations needed the government in order for them to survive and operate and so on and so forth. The roles have now flipped. The government needs the corporations because the corporations are the ones in control. They're the ones with the power. They're the ones with the data. They're the ones with the money. Some of these companies actually are worth more than entire countries themselves. Some of like Nvidia is like number 3, number 4, somewhere in there. Don't quote me on that. They're somewhere on that list of, if they were a country, that's where they would be listed. They are worth more than literally 95% of the countries in the world. And that's why when we talk about a technocratic, neo-feudalistic society, that's what we're heading towards right now. That's the transition. We're not doing Marxism. We're not doing communism. We're not doing socialism. Those are the buzzwords that you hear thrown around a lot. We are skipping straight to a technocratic, neo-feudalistic technocracy. And so that's what we're watching when it comes to the kings controlling the peasants with technocracy. It's the corporations that have control of everything. And that's why you continue to just see the same ones listed over and over and over again. Amazon, Google, Meta, OpenAI, Anthropic, Oracle. Those are the ones who control the data, the money, and ultimately the power. And so the government's not going to do anything that's going to go against them. And those corporations spend a lot of money to get their stuff on pace, and they tell the governments to make sure that they can get those things done. Very important that we remember that structure, that power structure, has completely changed from what we're being told that it was before. This Project Prometheus is focusing on technology that dovetails with Mr. Bezos' interest in taking people to outer space. The company is focusing on AI that will help in engineering and manufacturing in a number of fields, including computers, aerospace, and automobiles. Mr. Bezos' co-founder and co-chief executive is Vic Bajaya, I don't know, a physicist and chemist who worked closely with Google's co-founder, Sergey Brin, at Google's X, a research effort often called the Moonshot Factory. Google X produced a wide range of ambitious projects, including Wing, a drone delivery service, and a self-driving car that became Waymo. Project Prometheus is among a wave of companies focused on applying AI to physical tasks, including robotics, drug design, and scientific discovery. This year, several prominent researchers left Meta, OpenAI, Google DeepMind, and other big AI projects to found a company called Periodic Labs, which is focused on building AI technology that can accelerate new discoveries in areas like physics and chemistry. Last year, Mr. Bezos invested in Physical Intelligence, a startup that is applying AI to robots. Project Prometheus has already hired nearly 100 employees, including researchers poached from top AI companies such as OpenAI, DeepMind, and Meta. But companies like Periodic Labs and now Project Prometheus aim to build AI models that learn in more complex ways than chatbots do. Now, that's a very important thing to know when it comes to this country. Is Jeff Bezos' company is not going to be like another reproduction of Anthropic's Claude or OpenAI's ChatGPT or xAI's Grok. It's not going to be a chat bot like that. His is more about focusing on AI when it comes to being applied to physical things. So we've seen, unless you're not really watching or paying attention to stuff in this area, but we have seen overall a whole bunch of companies that are coming out with these robots that are using chatbots as their processing power for them to start doing things in the world, in the physical world. We've seen stuff like the Neo thing, which that is a sham. It's not as great as people think it is. We see what Musk is doing with his robots that he's doing. We've seen a various degree of other ones. I can't remember all the names off the top of my head, but there's a bunch of them out there. And for the most part, the robots kind of stutter and they're not as slick and they don't glide when they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Everything just kind of is fidgety when they're trying to do these physical tasks and stuff, even just simply walking. And it's believed that the reason why that is because a chatbot, the large language model of a chatbot like ChatGPT and stuff, is not designed in order to equip robotics with a smooth, gliding, quick reaction system. It's not able to do it that way. It needs something different. And that's what Jeff Bezos is trying to do with his company. He's trying to figure out, I'm sure they've already figured it out, but that's a conversation of how much technology do they have ahead of what we're allowed to see. But still, I'm sure they already have it figured out. But his company is about applying that type of AI that's not chatbot oriented to robotics to make everything smooth. So if you've seen the movie I, Robot, his AI is going to be similar to what you see in those robots, where they're able to just glide and work so much more smooth compared to the stuff that we have now. So if you don't know iRobot, just look up some clips on the internet or something so you get an idea of how those robots function, and you'll kind of get an idea. But that's what Jeff Bezos is currently working on right now. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. All right, let's transition to what we got when it comes to drones. Patrick's such a bad movie. I don't know. It's a popcorn flick if you're into that type of stuff. We're not here to do film reviews, but anyways. All right. So let's talk about this. Moving into drones and pilotless fighter jets. So this is something that is starting to gain a lot of momentum now when it comes to these fighter jets that don't have pilots in them, don't even have any human beings in them. It's like a huge drone, to say the least. It says Anduril's pilotless fighter jet completes its first test flight. So Anduril, we've covered Anduril a lot. The dude behind that is Palmer Luckey. He's the one that came up with the Oculus, the big virtual reality glasses, and he sold them to Zuckerberg, Meta, Facebook. He sold them to them, and then he was contracted after that by the Department of Defense to start Anduril, which is a private defense corporation, and he took government money in order to start building things for them. It's a pretty standard operation when it comes to things from the Department of Defense and the CIA, is they find people who have unique talents to build certain type things. And so they basically strong arm them into working for them. If you don't do so, then they make you disappear. One good case of that would be Nikola Tesla. Go take a look at that story and see who all was involved with that. Anyways, but yeah, so that's usually the case. Palmer Luckey is one of those guys. So Anduril is indeed, while they're considered a private corporation, they receive funding from they received seed funding from the CIA and the Department of Defense to be built. Same thing with like Palantir. Same thing with Lockheed Martin was another one, and a bunch of those groups like that. So that's a little back history on Anduril if you don't know Anduril. Now, this is interesting. It says California-based defense tech firm Anduril concluded that first test flights of its semi-autonomous Fury fighter jet without a pilot in the cockpit. There's actually no cockpit at all. The company's major milestone, which it achieved in just 556 days since it began work designing the aircraft, will see it join the race to become the leader in uncrewed aviation. Another defense contractor called General Atomics is also running with its experimental XQ-67A platform, and China is believed to be making great strides in pilotless planes too. Back in September of 2023, the company had acquired a small North Carolina-based firm called Blue Force Technologies, which initially developed the Fury aircraft. Anduril itself, meanwhile, has built a software platform for command and control of autonomous planes. And it says Anduril noted last April that it was selected by the U.S. Air Force to design and build collaborative combat aircraft, which will augment the efforts of crewed fighter jets in missions like reconnaissance, surveillance, and air-to-air and air-to-ground combat without a human on board. So take a fighter jet and stick AI in it instead of a human, and now you've got a surprisingly less expensive system that can be fully controlled with AI that you can mass produce and just start launching wherever you want to, and it doesn't require a human being to be involved. Anybody think that that's scary? Rather than being piloted remotely by someone with flight controls, it takes off, flies, and lands autonomously while only being monitored by a person on the ground. That person can issue commands to engage and call off missions and is required to manually authorize lethal actions like firing weapons or dropping munitions. It's only a matter of time before you won't even need somebody to do that. But as of right now, that's what they have. This is very similar to what we see when it comes to programs like Gotham from Palantir. The Maven program is another one of those. They had the the Gospel. Israel had the Gospel, which I believe became Lavender. It advanced to Lavender. That all has to do with utilizing AI to scan the battlefield, predict movements, target individuals, choose ordnance, and it just requires somebody to just press a button to fire munition, whatever that munition is, at the thing that the AI is completely processed and targeted. And so that's what this thing basically is. But it adds the ability to fly, maneuver, reconnaissance, and do reconnaissance, and do all that stuff on top of it as well. So think about that. Fury also is a fully integrated weapon system on board that's designed to capture data about what's going on around in combat situations and responds accordingly. It identifies targets and commands effects, enhancing the lethality, survivability, and effectiveness of the combined team. Once the aircraft proves its mettle in the skies, Anduril's next goal will begin mass producing it at company's upcoming 5 million square foot production facility in Columbus, Ohio, within the first half of 2026. So this ain't far off. This is going to be coming rather quickly. To that end, Fury is designed to be mass produced quickly and affordably for a lot less money than you would spend on a conventional fighter jet. Anduril told CBS in a recent 60 Minutes segment that Fury uses a commercial business jet engine, and easily available landing gear components instead of bespoke equipment and military aircraft powertrains. Yeah. So this is a pretty interesting development and advancement to what we've been seeing with the military side of things when it comes to AI, when it comes to drones. You should be noticing that there's a massive trend, an increasing trend when it comes to developing these autonomous robots on the battlefield that's using AI and predictive programs for things like this. Plus, we know that the advancement when it comes to drones themselves. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the videos out there regarding the latest announcements in the past 2 years, but they got drones the size of mosquitoes now that are able to just fly around, scan, target, and actually blow up on contact. You send a few of those out into the streets of cities, whether it's the United States or other cities, and you can start causing major havoc. That's an easy way to cause a false flag if you want to start drawing war into the conversation in that situation. So, but yeah, the technological advancement when it comes to these drones and stuff is significant. But it also shows a massive moral problem too, because you literally, I mean, war in itself is, yeah, that's something where it's a human killing a human type of deal. But when you start getting into the fact of you have a human telling a robot to go and kill another human, I don't know. I guess I could be wrong on that, but to me that's even more immoral than when it's a human on human. But that's a whole different conversation, which we're not going to get into. But still, just there's something wrong about all that. Sticking with this, CNBC exclusive, first look at Shield AI's new AI piloted military fighter drone. So it's not just Endural, but we also have Shield AI getting involved with this. It says the company, which is valued at $5.3 billion after securing $240 million in its latest round of funding, is set to unveil its next generation autonomous fighter jet known as the X-Bat. Shield AI says the unmanned aircraft has a jet engine, will have a 2,000 mile range, can fly up to 50,000 feet, and has the ability to take off and land vertically, enabling it to operate in remote locations without a runway, like on a ship in the middle of the ocean. So most jets require a takeoff runway in order to go up and into the air. This just goes right up, kind of like a rocket taking off, a spaceship taking off from its station. So this is going to be interesting because now it's not only a unmanned AI autonomous fighter jet, but now you could just plant these things anywhere and launch them. Depending on how big they are, you can sneak those things into countries, set them up in certain locations, and when the time being, press the button and they launch. That's another. You could come up with a whole bunch of theories of how that could be used for things. We're not going to get into that, but still something to think about on your own. It says the X-Bat will be piloted by an AI software developed by the Shield AI called HiveMind. That's concerning. It's interesting that they put it in this article, and I wanted to bring this up because it's always fun to talk about. There have been experimental aircrafts built as early as the 1950s with vertical takeoff and landing capabilities, but they required pilots. Well, for those who have been around my channel, who've done some digging in the area of the Nazi regime along with me, know that experimental aircraft that could take off vertically has actually been going on since the 1930s. Because if people don't know, when it comes to UFOs, those were indeed created by the Nazis beginning in the late 30s, early 40s, that they were developing these things. They have multiple discs. They were originally called the Vril discs. because they came from the what's the word? They're the ones that communicated with the demons that they called the Vrils that lived under the earth, but they received instructions from them, from their mentalists, a team of females that were connected to the Nazi party that would communicate with these demons, and they received blueprints on how to build these Vril discs. This is not a movie. This is not a comic book. This is not a story. This is real history that you will never read in a history book. But these were indeed real situations. And so these experimental aircrafts that could just take off vertically were indeed being built back then. And it's demonic technology. Do you think that demonic technology stopped there? No, I think it was advanced further into things like AI, which are now starting to take over more experimental aircrafts that we are currently seeing being built right now. So that is worth mentioning. That's why I found it interesting that they put this in the article. I was like, ooh, there's something to talk about. The company says it's on track to produce the X-Bat for around $27 million, which is a fraction of what an advanced military aircraft typically costs. For example, the F-35 fighter jet that's currently in use by the U.S. government and allies costs more than $100 million to produce. Unlike Shield AI's previous aircraft, the X-Bat is designed for combat and can be equipped with missiles. In 2024, the company secured nearly $200 million, $200 million contract with the U.S. Coast Guard for a drone it produces called the V-Bat. And it says, what we see from the war in Ukraine and the Middle East, they are tactically, operationally, and strategically absolutely important weapons, says Oleksandra Moloy, a drone expert and senior aviation lecturer at UNSW. In June of 2025, Trump issued an executive order called the Unleashing American Drone Dominance that aims to accelerate commercialization of drone technologies and integrate them into national airspace system. It's interesting it brings up Ukraine because we know that the whole Ukraine situation is not what the narrative has been of, you know, the usual Russia versus Ukraine thing that we've been told it's about. It's been a testing ground for many style of drone combat down there. They've been testing AI programs. They've been testing drones. They've been testing other military technology down there. And so that's what they've mainly been doing in that region. So when it talks about Ukraine and it talks about drones, they've probably been testing this hardware and this software both down in Ukraine as well. When it comes to Shield AI, worth noting, Shield AI and Palantir Technologies deepened strategic partnership and announced deployment of Warp Speed. So that was December of 2024. So Shield AI is indeed already connected to Palantir. This was in January of this year. Palantir eyes major investment in an AI drone maker, Shield AI, at $5 billion. So Palantir is heavily connected to Shield AI. That should surprise nobody. And then this came out as well. Army wants to buy 1 million drones over the next 2 to 3 years. The uptick in drone acquisition will be possible through a new pilot program called Sky Foundry, an initiative headed by Army Material Command, and Army spokesperson told Breaking Defense. It says the Army is planning a massive overhaul on how it acquires unmanned aerial systems, setting the ambitious goal of buying 1 million drones over the next 2 to 3 years. Reuters first reported on the drone buy, which could lead to the Army buying 500,000 to millions of drones annually after the initial acquisition. This uptick in drone acquisition will be possible through a new pilot program called Sky Foundry, an initiative headed by Army Material Command that plans to give the service the tools it needs to quickly develop, test, and produce small drones. Again, they're working on so many variations of drones, those tiny mosquito-sized ones that I'm talking about. We've talked about in the past that they have technology that by simply using a graphene strip on the back of the head of a military person, a soldier, they can control up to 3 drones mentally. They don't need to type in anything. They don't need to do anything. They just think it, and the drones will do it. And so we're entering into a whole new phase of how drones, AI, and technology is going to be working when it comes to not only military and war, but also things that are going to be used against civilians, not only in this country, but I think countries around the world. And it's going to give access to the Antichrist when he comes onto the scene to utilize that same technology in order to make his one world system come to fruition. So there's a lot of reasons why we should pay attention to these things. Again, this one brings up to Ukraine. It says later in July, during a bilateral meeting between Trump and Ukraine, President Zelensky, the Ukrainian leader, teased a possible deal to give U.S. drones worth $50 billion. So more testing for that. Now, worth noting, because I think this is a question or a talking point, however it's phrased, that gets brought up a lot, that I believe is worth going over, because we're getting flooded constantly with stuff like this that we just talked about. Pilotless fighter jets, AI military control systems. We're talking about thousands and thousands and millions of drones being unleashed upon the battlefield. We're getting all this stuff when it comes to future technology. And usually we just continue to think in that direction when we start getting into coming war scenarios, battle scenarios that we read about in scripture and whatnot. But I always like to make sure that we draw it back to the descriptions and the levels that the scripture defines things as for their appointed time. And one of the biggest things is we talk about this technology and we continue to hear the idea of, well, this technology can be incredible for when the time comes when, and everybody knows it, when like the Ezekiel 38 battle happens. But the thing is, when we read the scripture, it gives us a pretty good idea, a pretty good outline of how that whole invasion, because it's an invasion, because the Lord hooks these countries into invading Israel for that time, that when we read it, it specifically talks about how we're going to be reverting in technology at that battle. Because it's talking about horses, it's talking about swords, it's talking about shields and bucklers, it's talking about those things. So while this technology is advancing heavily when it comes to military action, when we look at the scripture, we know for at least that appointed time, for that appointed event, that appointed battle, that there's going to be a revert in technology for whatever reason. Now, we don't know how that happens. There could be a signal block, there could be an EMP in that region. There could be some type of thing that disrupts that could be an act of God, and they have to revert to things when it comes to horses and shields and swords and bucklers and that type of combat. So it's interesting, and I want to point this out because I find it extremely fascinating, and I hope you guys too, that if we just look at the technology that we have now, and we know that there's time between now and when those things happen in the future, there's scripture that points to both avenues of technology being in play for the end times. Both advanced technology, like what we're seeing now, and both old school technology that we revert back to. And they're both being deployed back and forth in scripture. And it's very fascinating if you haven't read end time scenarios in that way. Because if you look at it that way, you'll realize that it's going to be a period of back and forth on the technology scale, futuristic and old school. And so it is fascinating when you read through with that in mind, because then you can see it. And it's like, man, this is pretty interesting how these events play out and how God allows them to play out. So it's pretty interesting to pay attention to. So yeah, and not of this world. Russia has been preparing for the horse brigade. Yeah, they've already deployed horses and whatnot. Russia has in the Middle East. There's reports going back to January. I think it's January or February. At the beginning of the year, Russia was deploying horse soldiers and stuff like that. So for all those out there that says they're not going to be deploying horses and swords and stuff. That's not literal. You need to apply it because there's no way that they had any way of describing it back then. No, just read the Bible literally. Be surprised. Read the Bible literally. Just makes a whole lot more sense. Okay. We're almost done. 2 more things. Hang with me. So we have this. So scientists say that their AI system can scan your face to detect whether a company should hire you. So yes, AI, who's already come for your job, is going to be used to determine if you should get a different job. That's great, isn't it? This is a new study by researchers at the University of Pennsylvania, flagged by The Economist, sought to answer the question, can AI detect trustworthy people just by analyzing their facial characteristics? Personality traits can be sussed out just based on a person's facial features. Setting aside that highly problematic can of worms, the team at UPenn argues that yes, as a matter of fact, AI can accurately predict important characteristics about people based on an AI analysis of their face, including metrics linked to financial success like respectfulness and trust. To do it, the researchers used an AI system trained on previous scholarship about face-based personality detection to extract 5 personality traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So they're utilizing technology to scan those traits based upon your faces. You know, it's fascinating. I remember we just went through this big old long thing about how we shouldn't profile people. Profiling's bad. We can't base everything on how a person looks. And now we're literally using AI to profile people if you should get a job or not. Again, we talked about they're not producing physical sense anymore, and we haven't produced any mental sense in decades. Tell you what. It's a pretty horrifying thought. An algorithm, getting back to the article. Well, it is a pretty horrifying thought, but let's get back to the article. It's a pretty horrifying thought. An algorithm that chooses whether to get a job, secure the bank loan, or rent a car based on your face alone. But The Economist points out, in our world where financial success takes priority over all else, corporations would have the strong incentive to deploy it. In the United States, some states are using AI software to verify driver's licenses with disastrous results for those living with facial differences. In the UK, the Met Police just announced that they secured a record number of arrests with their AI facial detection system with only a 0.5% false positive rate, which, if you think about it, is really bad. As UPenn researchers write, widespread adoption of facial recognition technology in the future may motivate individuals to modify their facial images using software or even alter their actual appearance through cosmetic procedures, which that I'm sure a lot of people have noticed is a growing trend today where people are just injections and plastic surgery and just and things all around their body to try and alter, how the Lord designed you. And they're trying to change every bit about your body. We know that they're working on genetic stuff. That's a whole nother conversation we've had before that we're not going to get into now. It's just too much. But we know that they're working things on the genetic level, designing humans, babies when they're in the womb. And they're working on all this stuff to try to adjust and change everything when it comes to physical appearance. And all I can say is, get me off this rock. I don't want to be here anymore. Just don't want to be here anymore. Last but not least, let's finish it off with this. This was a pretty common topic in the Christian sphere of things, but I do want to make mention of it. This Disney Channel stars AI app that creates avatars of dead relatives sparks backlash. So this is basically another AI necromancy app. It's about scanning a human, and when the human dies, it's able to basically fill the role through technology like they never left. And this is not the only one out there. We've covered a few of them over the past 3 or 4 years. This is just the next one that happens to be making waves. We have a very short-term memory in society. We really do. Because we continue to be amazed by things or be upset by things that we've seen multiple times over, but we just forget that it's there. Not saying this is good, but I'm just saying we need to make sure that we don't have short-term memory when it comes to these things. This is a new AI-powered app that allows users to create interactive avatars of their deceased relatives. Co-founded by Disney Channel person Callum Worthy, is sparking backlash on social media, with many users calling this technology dystopian and comparing it to sci-fi series Black Mirror. Worthy, who starred the Disney Channel, who cares, posted an ad for an app Two-Way on X earlier this week, which has since gone viral, racking up more than 2 million views and thousands of critical responses. In the ad, an expectant mother communicates with an AI-generated avatar resembling her deceased mother through the Two-Way app, depicting interactions the avatar has with her family, and as the son is born, grows up, and eventually has children of his own. The end of the ad shows how the woman created the AI avatar of her mother, which the app apparently generated after the woman filmed her mother speaking and moving for 3 minutes. This is Two-Way. With Two-Way, 3 minutes can last forever, the company declared at the conclusion of the ad, and Worthy said in a post, the company is building a living archive of humanity, and that loved ones we've lost could be part of our future. So I'm not going to show the video. I don't know if there's... No, that was it. Yeah, I'm not going to show the video. You guys can go look up the video if you want. It's all over YouTube and social media and all those things. But basically what happens is the video shows a mom before she's pregnant with a child, and the grandma or her mom is still alive. And so she uses the app to film her mom talking, doing things, moving around, and so on and so forth. And so the AI gathers that data and starts building a profile about her. And then it shows the mom who filmed her mom, who's now pregnant with a child, and she's talking to the AI grandma, who's now dead at this time. And she's recalling stories of when she was pregnant with her and the things that she would do when she was in her belly and all these types of things, and trying to help the mom through the pregnancy. Then it shows when the child is 10 months old, and the child is listening to grandma tell stories on the phone, which is the AI generated grandma. Then it goes to when he's 10 years old and he's telling her about basketball practice on his way home. But she says, I don't care about basketball practice. Tell me about the crush that you have and all that type of stuff. Then it shows him at 30 years old. He's about ready to have a kid of his own, and he's still talking to the same unaged AI generated grandma. And so it's basically about AI trying to reproduce a human form of a deceased person. Now, we've seen all this stuff before. Different programs, apps have done something similar. It has to do with trying to revitalize the dead with utilizing technology. This is where you start getting into the demonic aspect of this, because whether you believe it or not, I know where I stand, you guys know where I stand, but if AI actually is demon possessed, what you have is a visual version of a Ouija board. You literally have a spirit within the technology, within the AI, that is manufacturing and creating a physical appearance of a deceased person. You're communicating with a evil spirit. And so you have a version of a Ouija board at that point. And so this isn't fun and games. This isn't, I just want to test it out to get an idea of what's going on, which you better believe that there's going to be those Christian podcasters that are just going to test it out just to see what's going on. Are these the same people that would test out a Ouija board? I don't think so. Why would they test this out? Because it's just AI. It's harmless, right? That's what we continue to get told. It's just a tool. That's all it is. There's nothing bad about it. It's the user. It's the people behind it or whatever. And I'm sitting there going, it's like, why would you take that risk? Why would you take that risk? See, the thing is, when it comes to AI, when it comes to technology, and we've talked about it a bunch on this channel, not lately because there's been a whole bunch of other stuff going on, but in the past we've talked about it. I go over a lot of it in the Eden End book. It's free on my website. But when it comes to what these people are doing, and when I mean these people, I mean the geniuses behind this technology, the ones that you don't hear their names, people like Jerry C. Glenn, people like Ben Goertzel, when these people that you don't hear their names too often, these are the ones who are the ones applying spiritual consciousness to AI, to quantum, to these programs that we hear are just tools, but they were absolutely 100% developed with a spiritual mind behind them. So if they were originally birthed, we'll just use that term now because it's easy to understand. If this technology was originally birthed with a spiritual consciousness idea behind it, that means that everything throughout it has that demonic influence, that spiritual influence to it. So why would we mess around with it? I don't believe that we should. Many churches, many pastors, many people who were outspoken against AI are now the very same people saying that you need to use it, otherwise you're going to fall behind. Patrick Wood is a big one of those. And so we've talked about that. The other aspect when it comes to the idea of uploading consciousness, that's the main idea behind this technology, has to do with uploading human consciousness. It has to do with uploading personality to a computer to live forever through technology. It has to do with this centralized mind consciousness, a centralized divine intelligence through technology that a lot of these people have been attempting to do. That's the idea behind it. One of them is Martine Rothblatt with the Terasem religious movement. It has to do with religion and technology coming together, and it has to do with uploading human mind files to computers. So when the technology comes in the future, they can start implementing people's mind files, their personality consciousness constructs into computers and robotics, and you can live forever through technology. This is not sci-fi movie. This is not sci-fi comic book. This is none of that. This is the reality of what this technology is. This is the reality of what they are striving for. And so why would we mess around with that? Especially something as easy as this. It's an app that anybody can download on their phone. Teenagers at school, you better believe that they're going to be doing this with their friends just for fun. Check out this new app I got. Let me scan you and make an AI version of you. And they're hooked. They're in it. It's the same thing that happened with the chatbots. I'm just going to test it out. I can't find something that I'm looking for, so I'm going to ask it. And all of a sudden, you get hooked. And you're stuck on this demonic intelligence. And it's over at that point. We need to not be messing with this technology. And I urge you, do it respectfully, lovingly, but I still urge you, if you know somebody or you listen to somebody who actively promotes AI technology, tell them to stop. Tell them to stop. Now, they probably won't listen to you. You got to at least say something, though. You got to at least say something. You got to tell them to stop. Again, we got to be bold when it comes to this type of stuff. We got to be bold when it comes to this, and we got to be bold when it comes to standing up for Christ in the dark places. Sometimes that means telling somebody that you know, somebody that you love, or somebody that you respect that they're messing with something evil and demonic when they just think it's something cutesy or just a tool in that case. A lot of crazy technology happening out there, a lot of crazy things happening. But for all that stuff that's happening that's clearly meant for not good things, we'll use the my extensive incredibly vast vocabulary, the not good things. For those who have Christ, we don't have to worry about it. For those who have salvation in Jesus Christ, we don't have to worry about this technology. Because it's one of those things where either we're not going to be around when this stuff starts going off, because we'll be taken out of here, or maybe there's going to be one of us that managed to we just get nailed by one of these AI machines flying around. Doesn't matter, because death is, just the beginning for eternity, right? Because you'll be gone, you'll be in the presence of the Lord, and you got nothing else to worry about. That's the wonderful joy and encouragement and promise that we have within Jesus Christ, because death is just the beginning. We don't have to worry about death. But I don't think any one of us is going to get nailed by some flying AI drone that's going to launch a bomb at us. I don't think that's going to happen, but still, it's a thought. A lot of people think, well, what if these drones, these little mosquito drones, fly around and they start blowing up people? Are you saved? You don't have to worry about it then. I know there's some people who don't have salvation in Jesus Christ that are going, man, that dude is morbid for even bringing that up. But for those who have Jesus Christ, everybody should be going, yeah, that's right. That's my promise. I got nothing to worry about. But again, if you're watching this and you don't have Jesus Christ, then yeah, I would be shaking in my khakis right now. But it's a gift and a promise and a hope that's freely given, that all you have to do is accept. And it's through the gospel of Jesus Christ, which is as simple as ABC. A is you admit that you're a sinner. The act of repentance, the changing of mind, turning from self to Christ, metanoia. All the religions of the world, even technology now, is all about self. It's all about how can you ascend? How can you be enlightened? How can you become a god? When all of that is false, it's the mystery religion, and it's born of the harlot of Babylon. But then there's one that stands alone, and that is Jesus Christ, that says, no, no, no. It's not about self. It's about me. I did it. Come and follow me. So it's through repentance that allows true belief in Jesus Christ. You believe that Jesus Christ is the one and only begotten Son of God. That he came down 100% man, 100% God, the God-man, the one and only. And he lived the perfect sinless life. The perfect sinless life that was the only one qualified to carry the sins of the world upon his shoulders. He carried those sins, my sins, to the cross, where he was killed and he was crucified. And he died. But because there's power in the blood of Jesus Christ, and he defeated death exactly as he said that he would, exactly as was prophesied, he rose again on the third day. For all who believe in him shall not perish, but live forever in his presence and in his glory. And see, as you call upon the Lord, when we receive salvation, we receive the Holy Spirit, and we are sealed by the Holy Spirit. And we receive an incredible supernatural gift of prayer that allows us to speak directly to our Father. We are allowed direct access to the throne room of God through prayer. And just any day, at any time, we can talk to our Father. Say, Lord God, thank you. Thank you for sending your Son, Jesus, to commit the ultimate sacrifice so I may live. You gave your Son so I may have life. And so we give you our life. And we pray, Lord, please use us in any way, at any time, for your work. Give us the confidence, give us the boldness, give us the strength to do what you want us to do, Lord. We thank you again for your Son. We thank you for the ability to speak to you with the intermediary of the Holy Spirit. We thank you for the word that has outlined the crazy things that we are seeing right now. Please be with us in these last days for however long that we have. And we say, Lord Jesus, please come soon, Maranatha. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. Seriously, guys, don't be afraid of this technology. That's probably one of the biggest things that I get all the time is a lot of people panicking about the technology. Nothing to worry about, nothing to panic about. When it comes to AI, just don't use it. Just don't use it. It's the best advice I can give. All right. What do we got for some questions? Let's see here. Lori S. Question. Why did the UN meeting have Nicki Minaj speak at it? You may have asked this before I was talking about it. She was invited by the Trump administration to speak about the Christians in Nigeria, which, again, none of that makes sense. Don't even ask me, because I don't know why you would have her do that. Pretty stupid. But it just goes to show that none of this is serious. And it's quite clearly a movie, to say the least. Let's see here. Jackalope. Would UBI stop if there's a government shutdown? Good question. This is where the concept of stablecoin comes into play. Because if a government shuts down and UBI is given out via stablecoin, that means it's private corporations that are issuing the UBI through the stablecoin. So if the government shut down, then no, UBI would still continue to function. If you don't want to talk about stablecoin on that side of things, which again, I think UBI will be through the digital side of things, but if you want to talk about maybe beforehand, if they're doing UBI, it could be written as a policy that continues even during a government shutdown. Like there were certain functions that our government here in the United States was still going through, even with the government shutdown. Certain things were still getting paid. You could set UBI up to do the same thing that way. So either way, it depends. If you're doing cash style, like in today's environment, you can write it so it continues even during a government shutdown. Or my suggestion is I think UBI will be introduced when the stablecoins digital stuff happens. And that would be through private corporations, and you wouldn't, even if the government shut down, it would still continue. So those are two avenues that they can continue to do that during a shutdown. But again, I think when we start getting to that point, when that stuff starts rolling, I think there's going to be so much transition with government systems that I don't think government shutdown is going to be like what people are thinking at that time. If there even is one, I think things are going to start transitioning to more centralized global government at that point. So I think things will change on a government level as well. So, but that's a whole conversation of speculation and trends and theory, and we're not going to get into that. But I think I got your question on that one. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see here. Edward McKelvey question: could you see the combining of all our data in one place and an outage or a hack, all of our money and things just going bye-bye, thus a universal income being necessary? Well, putting all the data in one place and then taking money away would be two different things on that situation. Universal basic income, I think, is something that would happen when you see full economy collapse and AI continues to start swallowing jobs. Because at that point, you're going to see if the global economy collapse, you're talking about small businesses, small mom and pop shops, gig work. You're seeing all that get wiped off the face of the earth. Then you're going to see big corporations laying people off and replacing them with AI. And that's when I believe a UBI system would be implemented. UBI after a hack or an outage, I don't think would. Those would be two different scenarios. I don't think that they're ones that would work in conjunction with each other. That's just how I look at it personally. Let's see here. Lazy Rabbit question, was Trump still going to get rid of the IRS? Well, that was one of his campaign promises, and he was talking about it for the first few months of his presidency, but then all of a sudden he went quiet on it and then started expanding the IRS. So that sure seemed like a lie. Just another one, add it to the list in order to get support behind him for what he's doing. I haven't heard him mention anything about getting rid of the IRS. Do you guys remember when he was, we're still waiting for him to investigate Fort Knox, right? All the gold at Fort Knox. Haven't heard anything about that. So just add it to the laundry list of lies on that one. But yeah, as of right now, he's expanding the IRS. He's not abolishing it. Katie, question. If the globalist plan is successful to depopulate the world from 8 billion to 500 million, whose data will all those data centers keep data on? Certainly not the globalists. Yeah, well, the thing is those data centers, even if they eliminate the people, all of that data is still going to be on the data centers anyways. So at that point, see, we're at a position right now where the data that you produce is more valuable than anything else that you can give them. And so if they find that they've collected all the data that they need from you, then you're just expendable at that point. Remember, you are the carbon that they want to reduce, and your data is worth more than anything else that you can give them. And so, yeah, they'll still have your data, even if they eliminate you. It's interesting. We're in November. This is worth mentioning because you brought up the reduction, the numbers reduction there. There's two things that were pretty significant that had a 2025 date on them. And one was from Alice Bailey, if you guys remember, that we were supposed to see the great spiritual hierarchy be formed with the leader taking control. That's supposed to be the Antichrist and the 10 kings that she demonically prophesied decades ago. So we're running out of time for that one. Pretty interesting. And then we also have the report that starts with an E and ends with an L that they said that there's supposed to be a massive drop of people this year as well. They predicted such that. So we're running out of time for both of those quote unquote predictions to take place. Fascinating. So we'll see what happens, right? There's still some time, but that clock is ticking for 2025. Yeah, some of you know the report I'm talking about. I just can't say it on this platform. They really don't like that word. So, let's see here. Patrick Starr question. Have you seen Trump becoming increasingly nervous with all the recent talk about him and Epstein? Yeah, none of that matters, man. If they want to frame Trump, they'll frame him. If they want to kick him, if they want to protect him, they'll protect him. That's what I mean. The whole Epstein file thing is just one giant distraction. Don't get swallowed up in it. Don't get distracted by it. Pay attention to everything else going on around it. It's just, yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, is those files can be manipulated so quickly. Patrick Starr question. Could World War III or Ezekiel 38 involve a heavy usage of AI? Well, we kind of covered this earlier. You probably asked this before I went over it. But yeah, Ezekiel 38 specifically talks about a revert in technology that's going to happen. So I would not count on AI being involved with Ezekiel 38. However, technology could definitely play a possibility in other battles and wars that take place during that time as well. So again, that's that whole go. I recommend this. Go and start reading through some of the end times events that are going to be happening, both battle and economic and stuff like that. Just kind of read through it, and you'll see that there's both versions of technology that are kind of described. So it's pretty interesting. Let's see here. Looks like we got two more. Lazy Rabbit question: do you think we'll be here for the digital rollout? Which digital rollout? We're already starting to see some digital being rolled out right now. Do you mean digital rollout like digital ID? Do you mean digital rollout as in digital currency? I'm not sure which digital rollout because there's multiple facets of that. We're seeing some of that, both of those being kind of rolled out all over the world right now. I think we could be here for a digital ID. I think that's much earlier in the plans or in the cards as far as things go, as far as policy, agenda, and the technology of it. So I think it's possible that we could see that while we're here. As far as a digital rollout, like globally of currency, I don't think we will see that here in the church. Again, we're seeing bits and pieces of it, but as far as a huge rollout globally regarding it, I don't see the church being here for that. I think that'll come after the financial collapse, and I don't believe that we'll be here for that because I pertain to a literal reading of Matthew 24, and before the flood comes, the church gets removed, and I think we'll be gone before that happens. So I don't believe that we'll be here for the global rollout of currency. It's possible we're here for the global rollout of digital ID. That's my perspective on it as of now. I'm not planting my flag on it. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. That's just how I look at it. Last but not least, Chris Believer in Jesus. Did you hear about the first restaurant to open on the moon? It had great food, but no atmosphere. Hi-oh! Make sure you tip your waiters and waitresses, everybody. Chris will be here all night. Well, actually, no. He'll be here for just a few more minutes because we're finishing up. Good stuff. Thanks for joining me, guys. That's all the questions that we have. Thank you for hanging out with me. Again, this was one of those where we just kind of went over a bunch of smaller details of things, but it's still very important to have those little nuggets of information when it comes to the bigger picture of things, because it kind of clues us in on how things are operating. So if bigger things do come, we can see what's happening. So, but yeah, good stuff. And again, thank you guys for joining me. Usual spiel, if you guys can, like, share, subscribe, get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. So if you guys can do me a solid and like, share, subscribe, it helps reach those people who are just seeking some type of understanding of what's going on, and we can hit them with the gospel. And that's why we do what we do. Also, make sure you guys follow on Rumble and Telegram. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be backup live streaming over on Rumble. So make sure you guys follow me over there. Telegram, post updates, announcements, and other little things here and there that I can't necessarily put in video format. So make sure you guys follow me there. If you don't like Rumble, you don't like Telegram, I completely understand. So make sure you guys follow, or not follow, but bookmark the WretchedWatchmen.com website. That's your one-stop shop to stay up to date on everything that's going on with the Wretched Watchmen stuff. We got the latest podcasts and live streams and announcements and the free books you can download there and all the other stuff that you want to know what's going on. So if you don't know what's happening, that's the place to see what's happening. So make sure you guys bookmark that. If you guys like to support this channel, what I got going on, I got donation links down below. CashApp, Venmo, and GiveSendGo. Again, this channel it runs because of you guys. We don't do paywalls. We don't sell stuff. We don't do subscriptions. We don't do monetization. We don't do any of that stuff. You guys are the ones that make this run. It's entirely donation driven. So I thank you guys for your support and your donations and your prayers. Again, thank you guys. You guys keep this running. And then don't forget, Friday night, I'll be filling in for Pastor Jeff, Calvary Chapel, Madison. I believe that is 7 p.m. Central. Yeah, 7 p.m. Central. I forgot to tell the date at the time at the beginning. But yeah, Friday. So tune in then. I'll be going over some stuff regarding more technology and all that type of stuff. So it'll be a good time. And yeah, wear your fancy hats on that one. Pants required. So for all of you who like to go pantsless, pants required. Anyways, good stuff. But that's it. Thank you guys for joining me today. And I'll leave you guys right here. And yeah, have a good week. Be bold for the Lord. And that's it. Peace out. Maranatha.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.